This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Storytellers Cafe. I'm your host, Usha Venkatraman. Storytellers Cafe has completed 2 years, launched by Bharat FM in the year 2020 during the pandemic, and we have successfully completed 2 years. As you all know, it's the number one storytelling podcast show on Bharat FM, a Cincinnati based radio station. Thank you for coming and listening to Storytellers Cafe week after week. Thank you for making this commitment. As you know, friends, each and every episode is special as I get to sit down with fellow friends, storytellers, and share with you the wealth of knowledge and wisdom and experience my guests share. I have always been trying to bring a diverse storytellers on this platform who try different skills and tell their stories just to make it more interesting and engaging. I also want to wish everyone a very happy Varalakshmi Puja. That is this Friday. We just passed it on the 5th of August. Varalakshmi Puja is a very famous Indian festival celebrated in the southern India, in Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. And I just thought that every festival has a story attached to it. And as India celebrates Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, which means we are celebrating 75 years of independence, and it is celebrated on the 15th of August, but we've been celebrating it for the past 1 year, and we have the freedom to choose. So that is the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, means that we celebrate our independence of 75 years with great excitement and tribute to the freedom fighters. So various programs have been lined up for this wonderful day. And as we celebrate our 75 years of independence, I thought I should have the freedom to choose as to how I tell my story. So today I will begin to sing and tell my story. So here it goes. श्रावण पौर्णिमा पूर्वाप्त शुक्रवारे चारुमती प्रभृतिभिः पूजित कारे देवादि गुरु गुह समर्पित मणिमय हारे दीन जन संरक्षण निपुण कनक धारे भावना भेद चतुरे भारती सन्नुतवरे कैवल्यव निपुण करे कांचिता फलप्रद करे श्रीवरलक्ष्मी नमस्तुभ्यम्. So that was a song which actually tells a story about the festival that we are celebrating. We celebrated rather on Friday, on the 5th of August It's the Lakshmi Puja, and it talks about the month that it is celebrated. It is feud Shravana Paurnima. Paurnima means just on the day of the full moon, this festival is celebrated. And it starts with Lord Shiva telling his consort, Parvati, about the Varamahalakshmi Vradam or the Puja. So he narrates the story of a Brahmin woman named Charumati who lived in the kingdom of Magadha. She was a very highly devoted wife and daughter in law to her family. Looking at her sincerity and devotion, goddess Lakshmi was highly impressed and appeared in Charumati's dream, asking her to worship the goddess as Varamahalakshmi, and so that all her wishes would be fulfilled. So, this festival is celebrated by all the women and young girls in the month of Shravan, and so that they could be blessed by goddess Lakshmi. Now, you will wonder why I am telling you this story, because my guest tonight is a wonderful storyteller, a dancer, a classical Carnatic vocalist from Bangalore, India. So let me give her introduction and bring her on to the studios. Lavanya Prasad is an electrical engineer turned professional storyteller and believes that she makes better and long lasting connections through stories than electrical wires. A point to ponder, my friends. Lavanya has been telling stories professionally since 2011 for the last decade through her organization called Talescope and has been invited as a featured teller in many Indian and international storytelling festivals. A trained Bhratanatyam dancer and Carnatic vocalist, Lavanya's storytelling style seamlessly weaves in music and movement in it. Her deep interest in Indian mythology and folklore has blossomed into unique workshops, paper presentations, and performances in esteemed organizations and platforms, where Lavanya intertwines the lore, stories, and hence the experience. The journey of a war instrument from extermination to expression is a recent paper of hers about the oral storytelling tradition from Tamil Nadu called Villadichan Pattu or Villupattu that received an amazing response from people around the globe. Indian folklore, Lavanya believes, is amazingly deep, philosophical, and healing in nature. Right from the simple, humble, grounded kolam, the sacred geometry, the patterns that we do with the rice flour outside our homes, that one starts a day with, to the soothing lullabies that are sung to a child in the night. The lore is the one that connects one's mind and heart. Her new series, Kolam, A Journey Within, Lali with Lavanya, where lore meets love and hope, and explores these concepts as an interactive and immersive performance. Her project Roots, we will be talking about this as it's very dear to me as well, with senior citizens, was acknowledged and appreciated by the Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji in September of 2020. So that is kudos to Lavanya. We will be dropping the social handles, media handles of Lavanya. You can connect to her on Facebook under the name Talescope. YouTube also, she has Talescope Bangalore. And also on the cloud, Lavanya's Tales, and on Instagram, Lavanya Talescope. So I will be putting all this on our page. And without further ado, let me bring our guest tonight from Bangalore. Lavanya Prasad, welcome to Storytellers Cafe.
Namaskaram, Usha. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me here. It's such an honor.
It's our pleasure and honor, Lavanya. I've been following you, I guess, for the past 9 to 10 years, and I've seen the meteoric rise of your career, and it's something to be applauded. And you're very sincere and sustaining in this field, and I
Thank you so
love that
much.
passion that you bring to this storytelling. I wouldn't call it a profession. I would rather say it's a passion. It is something
Absolutely.
that is to be shared and to inspire and to fire people to bring about changes. Like I say, we storytellers are social activists. Through our
True.
stories, we bring about a social change. So,
Absolutely.
Lavanya, that was a brief introduction. There is a lot more that we will talk about in the course of our expressions and conversations in Storytellers Cafe. Lavanya, tell us about your journey. I love that connection better than an electrical circuit because electricity does connect. But you say that storytelling is something which is stronger than the connection.
Absolutely.
So, how
Absolutely.
did an electrical engineer chance upon or, traverse one's path and get into storytelling?
Hmm. So you're taking me back in my memory lane. A very interesting journey, I should tell you. Well, I think the year was 2008. And I remember that day very vividly. I was nervous as hell because I was going to attend my first interview after I passed out from college. Well, that was the day my daughter had gone to school. Yes, she was a very small baby. She had just started going to her KG nursery. And I was getting bored at home. I didn't know what to do. And that is when I decided that I will apply for a job and get into an interview. And when I applied, I was called out to this multinational company in Bangalore. I was so scared. I was fidgeting with the papers. I was putting down the keys and I had to rush because my father in law was waiting for me in the car, taxi downstairs. And he was to accompany me to the interview for moral support. Well, he himself is an electronics engineer who had retired as the CEO of the company. And so I really thought that he being present with me would definitely give me some kind of strength. And so I took that project report of mine, that I had done like 7 years earlier, and I was trying to go through the pages, trying to understand what these circuit connections meant, but nothing was getting inside my head. I don't know how that 45 minutes passed, and suddenly the car came to a halt. And I was there standing in front of this huge building. My heart was going lup tup, lup tup, lup tup, lup tup. I didn't know what to do. I just quietly went inside. And the receptionist, she called out to me. She said, "Are you Miss Lavanya?" I said, "Yes." "Please wait in the boardroom. There is somebody who will come and talk to you now." And quickly I noticed that the HR of the company started having conversations with my father-in-law. My father-in-law wanted to know more about the company, and so they were conversing very casually. And I just went inside and I went into this big board meeting room, which was like which could easily host about 30 people. There was this oval shaped table and so many chairs, and I was the only person who was sitting there. And in even that full blown AC, I was sweating. I could feel that sweat drops coming in my forehead. And that was the time this man walked in, a gentleman, I should say, by the look of him, and such a handsome guy. I couldn't help noticing that he was really handsome. He must be in his, probably then in his late 30s. He just came down and with a firm handshake, he just looked at me, and to break the ice, he just started introducing himself and asked me about what I was doing and all that. And very casually, the conversation merged into an interview. And he said, "Can you draw me a simple DC motor circuit?" that was the time I cursed myself. I cursed my stars for having me take this opportunity to come and sit in front of this man who was giving his time and taking my interview. For some reason, I just remembered what my dad always used to tell. He always said Ohm's law was what saved him. My dad was a BSc physics graduate, and when he graduated out of college and he went to attend an interview, the only question that was asked to my dad was, "What is Ohm's law?" And my dad didn't know the answer to it. He failed the interview, but he became a very successful businessman in his life. And so he jokingly used to tell me, "It was Om that saved me, Amma." For some reason, I just remembered that. For some time, I just took the pencil. I tried recollecting all that I had learned like 7, 8 years ago, but nothing came on the paper. The man was trying to help me. He tried to probe me to understanding and bringing all that was at the back of my mind. But in the next 5 minutes, I realized that I was wasting his time. I don't know where I got the guts from, Usha. I just looked at him and I said, "Sir, I really can't do this. I'm very sorry. I wasted your time." he he is a gentleman, I should tell you, because he looked at me, he smiled, and he said, "No issues. Do something that is very close to your heart." And he walked away just like that. And I got up very angry with myself for not being able to do one single thing in my life. And I just walked to the reception, and there I see my father-in-law and HR in deep conversation because they have already, built some rapport, and they were discussing about the products that the company was making. And Appa looked at me and he asked, "Okay, how was the interview, Amma?" And I just simply nodded and got inside the car. The next 45 minutes of my drive, I didn't speak a word. I was so angry with myself. I know my dad would be waiting to listen to what happened in the interview because he was the one who wanted to see me as an independent woman, who could do something for herself. And I did not have the guts to just call up Papa and say that, "Papa, I didn't do the interview well." That night, I just slept. But when the morning rays hit the ground, I knew that there was some light in my dark tunnel too. I called up Papa and I said, "Appa, I failed the interview. I don't know what is going to happen. They asked me to wait for a week. I'm going to wait for a week and then I'll tell you what I'm going to do." The week passed. I did get a mail, and the mail said, "Lavanya, we're very happy to tell you that there is a part-time position that we would like your father-in-law to take up in our firm." Hadarama, ayyo, this was it. I just passed the mail to my father-in-law and I asked him, "Appa, would you like to take it up?" And he politely refused. But then that day I decided I will do something that I wanted to do. I called up my dad and I said, "Appa, I failed this interview, but I am going to work as a teacher because I like to teach." And so I went to the school that my daughter had joined. And I met with the principal. I said, "I would like to be a teacher here, ma'am." The only question she asked me was, "Why?" I said, "Because I like to tell stories and I like children." And just like that, from next day onwards, I was in the school telling stories to children and teaching. And what I found was I could easily bring in concepts and stories together, and children went home and tell stories to the parents and connected concepts. The school noticed this and they asked me to do a workshop for them. And that was when I realized, oh, probably all the storytelling, all the stories that I heard as a child from my grandfather is there inside me. Why not explore this? So after 3 years of working in the school, when I had to take a break for my second delivery, I decided that I'm going to focus on this. And the moment I stepped into this world, Usha, you should be knowing better. You're far more senior than me. The amount of possibilities that I saw was amazing. And from there was no turning back, which is why I very strongly believe that I make long lasting connections using stories rather than electrical wires. That's my journey, in short.
Wow, what a narrative journey, Lavanya. I just love this about you, the passion. It just oozes and comes across. And you're a naturally um natural born storyteller. You know, some have it natural, the talent to make connections. And you are one of the few storytellers that I've come across who can instantly connect.
Thank
And
you.
this was wonderful. Maybe it was a loss to that IT company, the software
No,
company.
one good thing is I was called to the same company to train their employees on how to tell stories. So that was my aha moment when that happened. So that was amazing.
That's wonderful. See how the universe rewards
Right,
you
right.
because it's so happy that you followed your heart and your passion. Lavanya, there is so much to talk about because you accomplished so much in such a few, I would say, time because 6 7 years is not much, but you accomplished a lot. Like I said while I was introducing you, I would like to know, or our viewers, just to inform our viewers, we are listening to Lavanya Prasad from Bangalore, India, Storytellers Cafe, who is a wonderful storyteller, uh, electrical engineer turned into a professional storyteller, and much more than that. So, Lavanya, tell us about your connection or your project roots.
So, Roots is very special to me, Usha, because the person who instilled the art of storytelling in me, I believe, was my grandfather, my maternal grandfather. Subramaniam was his name. And for every question that I asked when I was a child, the answer would come out as a story. I think that is what even made me realize that there was this storytelling potential inside me because of listening to his wonderful tales that he used to tell me with all, I mean, I don't know. He's the best storyteller that I know. So Roots was actually an idea that came into my mind because I wanted to give to the senior community, as a tribute to my grandfather. And that is how it started off. I went to a local senior community in Bangalore here, and like 4 5 6 years back, and I just said I would like to share stories with you all. And the first reaction that I got from them was, "What? We are the ones who tell stories, and you are here to tell us stories?" I said, "Yes, let me try. I might not be as good as you all, but let us try." And that is how it started, because the moment I started conversing with them, all I needed to do was, give them that spark, that trigger through a story of mine. And then they take over the entire 1 hour. It's like how a story could easily open up somebody who would want to talk, who would want to be heard. So that was the beauty of working with senior citizens that I found out. And slowly it just started developing into something bigger. I started telling them that how much story, and they didn't even realize that they had so many stories inside them. When I go to them and I say that, okay, would you like to share a story, they would say, no, 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 we don't remember any story. Like I told you, it is only that spark that I need to give them, and then it just comes up. And people tell me that, oh, we never know that all these stories were inside us. And that is when I happened to do a project with my grandfather-in-law, my husband's father, I should say. He's 95 years old now. So he was a rich source of stories. I mean, he used to tell us and his great grandchildren about his younger days and how they lived as a family, and what were the values that were instilled in them. And we used to go, how is this even possible? So we urged him. He's somebody who loves to write. So we urged him to pen down all his experiences. And we made that into a book. And that became a family book of stories for us. And we got it printed, and we gave it to all the family members. And today, that is one of the best uh, treasures that we hold as a family, because it has what our family stands for. It has what the values that we hold together as a family. And my children, when they are looking at that and reading the first time that their great grandfather actually used a toilet, they are in awe. They said, like, you people did not have a toilet to go to. So these are the things that I literally feel that gives them so much gratitude. They are able to appreciate life. So this was something that just happened. And from then on, I thought, okay, why not ask seniors that if they would like to pen their life stories and make it as a gift or a treasure to their family. And that is how the Roots project of creating a life story, a biography of sorts, came into picture. And I should say that it is such a heartwarming, humbling, and lovely experience to have interacted with families who completely trust me in the process, and they share their family stories with me, and I help them write the stories and give it to them as a book that they could hold it as something very close to their heart. So that is Roots project in short for you. But we also keep doing, I also keep working with senior citizens on a monthly basis. So I'm associated with a community here in Bangalore called Silver Talkies, with whom I've been working for almost 6 years now. And we have monthly meets, and where we exchange ideas and stories. And my god, I should say that the amount of positivity that I get from these people is amazing. And their wisdom and my stories combined together, I should say I'm the one who's more lucky, because I've learned so much from them. They're so giving, and I'm so grateful that this happened in my life.
Thank you, Lavanya. That's a very, very noble project of yours. And the senior citizens, the elders, have so much wisdom that we can learn from them. There is also a beautiful story which also talks about the wisdom of the elder. The grandson mm, learns from his grandfather. So that's another story for another time. Lavanya,
Right.
coming back to the term roots, roots also talks about our ancient tradition, the culture, the folklore, the mythology, of which you are, closely associated with, because that's something else that your stories stem out of folklore and mythology, and
Right.
especially the Villupattu, which I spoke about, because that is an instrumental. You called it an instrument from war instrument from extermination to expression.
Right.
Something that was the paper also that you wrote about this instrument. So could you tell us about a little about the Villipatti style and also give us a demonstration of a story?
Absolutely. So, Villupattu is something that I remember watching in Doordarshan. Earlier, when DD used to be there, and for festivals like Pongal and Deepavali, we used to have this traditional art forms that are telecasted. And it used to fascinate me, because I used to wonder, how is this even possible? How are these people actually telling stories with something in front of them? And it's so captivating. There is humor, there is song, there is movement, there is narration, there is interaction, all put together in one. In Tamil, we say Iyal Isai and Nadagam, the drama, the music, and the theater, which comes together as one form. So Villapattu is one art which has got the three elements of Iyal Isai and Nadagam in it as just one single oral storytelling tradition. So I was so naturally attracted to the art form. And it was not until last 2-3 years back that I really wanted to uh, dig deeper and understand what that form actually is. So when I started doing that, it just amazed me. Such a simple, humble instrument, and the amount of depth that it has in it is truly amazing. Because, like, you would agree with me, any art form is very healing in nature, right? But this art form originated because it wanted to heal someone. And who that is, let me tell you with a small demonstration, right? So now let me give you present to you all with my miniature villa. Now this is my villa that I had made. கண கண கணபதியே வில்லில் பாட வில்லில் பாட நான் வந்தேன் கணபதியே, கலை 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 மகளே சரஸ்வதியே அருள் தருவாய், அம்மா நீ காத்தருள்வாய். With this kutti little prayer to the Almighty, let me start this Villupattu story to you all. சபையில் உள்ள பெரியோரே, தாய்மாரே, தந்தைமாரே, uncles, aunties, brothers and sisters, this is Lavanya telling you all வணக்கமுங்க வணக்கமுங்கோ. As a storyteller, like I told you all, I was very naturally attracted to this beautiful art form, a sing-song oral storytelling tradition from Tamil Nadu, because I like to incorporate music and dance in my stories. இலக்கணம் தெரியாத நானு, ஆமா நானு, இலக்கியமும் தெரியாத நானு, ஆமா நானு, இந்த வில்லுப்பாட்ட உங்களுக்கு எல்லாம் சொல்றதாலே. If there are any mistakes, I request you all to please forgive me, because I'm not an exponent in this art form, but somebody who's very, very passionate about this art form. So, now I will have to tell you all something very, very important. Can you see this? This is called the Villu of the Villupattu. And every time I happen to see this beautiful Villupattu performance, my heart would go, Geeta Duni Kutaka Deenta Dinginatum Nadritani Toni Tampidam Taitade Kidataka Geeta Duni Kutaka Deem. Which is why today in Storytellers Cafe, I would want to bring da 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 da, the story of the bow song, da 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 da, na 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 na. Bow song, yes, Villupattu or the bow song, literally translated. Ama. So, can you see what is here in front of you? I'm sure you would all have seen it at some point of time in my life, your lives too. Now, I want you all to think back to that memory. I'm sure it would take you to the 90s when you had watched Ramayanam in Doordarshan television, where Rama and Ravana were raining arrows at each other, swinging, 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 right? That is this bow. Ayyo, not this bow. This bow is a miniature version. Kindly adjust. Okay. So, how did this war instrument become an instrument of expression? Listen. In the southern regions of Tamil Nadu, Tamil Nadu, Tamil Nadu, lived a king who loved hunting, ting. One day he did this. He rested under a tree, tanananne, tanananne, nane. As the king was resting under a tree after hunting the whole day, the soldiers came and laid in front of him the day's kill. The Raja was very happy because his heart was filled with pride. But it was at the same moment that there was another thought that crossed in his mind. வாழும் உயிரை வாங்குதல் யாவருக்கும் சாத்தியமே, ஆனால் வீழும் உயிரை எழுப்புதல் வேந்தன் நினைத்தாலும் ஆகாதுவே. Oh, what a sin I have committed! Oh, what a sin I have committed! Oh, what a sin I have committed! Ayago! That was the thought that crossed the Raja's mind. The minister, who was standing right next to the Raja, was feeling very sorry for him, Papa. He decided to help the king. Why don't you wash away your sins, Your Majesty, with a song? What? Are you out of your mind? Do you want me to sing in this forest? The emperor's kind I am, said the Raja. Ayyo, Raja. Now listen to me carefully. The Raja said, but I don't have any musical instruments with me. ஆடுறது ஆயாச்சு, காடா இருந்தா என்ன, வீடா இருந்தா என்ன? You have decided to sing. So what if it is the forest or your house? Huh? How does it matter? You tell me, Raja. This is what the minister said. And now the king got very curious. He decided that he wanted to know more. He said, how is it even possible? Hit the bow with the arrow, sing a song, my dear Raja, my dear Raja. Take the pot and keep the lotto. Wash away your sins with your heart, Amma, with your heart, Amma, with your heart. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. The moment the minister said this, the Raja felt really happy. Pesh, romba nanna irke. That is excellent idea, I say. But I have another doubt. Now you tell me, Minister, I hear that every time a poet composes his first song, there is some divine intervention happening for him. Who will help me? Please let me know who will help me. This was the point where the minister lost his patience. He looked at the king and he said, Raja, now you stop. You please stop. I will ask questions and you tell me the answer. Now tell me, Raja, with what are you planning to wash away your sins, your sins? What a silly question are you asking, my minister? இந்த பாவம் என்ன பாத்திரமா விம்பார் போட்டு கழுவறதுக்கு? Are these sins dirty vessels? I can't use any prill, you see. Of course, I'm going to use art to wash away my sins. Well, my dear Raja, then surrender your heart to this beautiful art, and then you will see the magic start. கலைக்கு தன்னையே தந்து பாடிவிடுங்கள் ராஜா, தந்தனத்தோம் என்று பாடுங்கள். So the moment the minister said this, the Raja understood what should be the first line of his song. தந்தனத்தோம் என்று சொல்லியே வில்லினில் பாட அம்மா, வில்லினில் பாட வந்தருவாள் தலைமகளே. The moment he started singing, the soldiers who were standing there looked at the Raja and nodded in acknowledgement. Amma, 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 Amma. And the Raja sang the truth. And it healed not only the artist, the Raja here, but also the listeners, the soldiers who were gathered there. And that is how, my dear people, this beautiful bow that was a war instrument journeyed to become an instrument of expression that healed many, many hearts. இதுவரைக்கும் என்னோட வில்லுப்பாட்டு கதைய பொறுமையாக கேட்ட அனைத்து உள்ளங்களுக்கும் நன்றி. Thank you so much for being a wonderful audience to this Villupattu story. வாழ்கவே பல்லாண்டு வாழ்க, தமிழ் வளர்த்த மண்ணு வாழியவே, தமிழ் மக்கள் எல்லாம் வாழியவே, வாழ்க வாழ்கவே. டடடடடடடடம். So that is a small sample story of how a Villupattu performance could be. Now, like what I told you, this is just a glimpse, and I hope that this gives you that motivation to go and see the exact Villupattu performance. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lavanya. That was simply awesome.
Thank you,
Because
Usha.
it's the first time I'm watching a Villupattu performance. And Villupattu, my friends, is another expression form of storytelling. It's a very traditional art form prevalent in southern India and Tamil Nadu. If I'm not mistaken, right, Lavanya?
Yes, yes.
Villupattu, because it's a Tamil coinage, so it
Right,
is using the instrument, which is akin to a percussion instrument, a rhythmic instrument, as you saw the rhythm, which tells the story. And you have to listen to it in Tamil to really enjoy the beauty of it. But
absolutely.
Lavanya, thank you for bringing it alive through your translation, and wonderful. So here the storyteller sings and tells the story, right?
Right,
So that was lovely. We know that Lavanya uses music and movement because she's a dancer as well as the oral narrative. How do you think it would be if she combines all the three and presents it for us? Because this is something unique. What you brought to Storytellers Cafe about Villipate was something very unique. We have not
right,
had any teller who is, and um, I wouldn't say expert, who has used this art form to
right.
narrate a story. So, Lavanya, I know there is so much more about you, but you know that you're a dancer, and I am a great fan of the Indian classical dance. You're a Bhratanatyam dancer, and I did a stint for a couple of years on Abhinaya,
Mm,
learning to emote, because
mm,
it comes naturally when you tell a story. So, how to
right.
emote and tell a story. And that's how this coinage of Abhinaya Katha was born. And you have performed for us on this.
Right.
Because it's a beautiful way, because dance is another art form which tells a story, just like music. But
Mm,
when you intersperse it with a dialogue, with the oral narrative, which I've seen Protima Bedi do it on stage.
mm,
And
mm,
she always could connect with her audience. As a
right.
young girl, I would watch her performance in Bombay, how she would narrate the story with her, Abhinaya, or her, what do you call the hand? The mudras, and
Mudras.
then to convey the story. So it's like visually bringing the story alive. Uh,
Right.
I'm just coming on to the Abhinaya Katha, of which I'm sure you're no stranger. Would you like to give our viewers a glimpse of that?
Sure. Why not? Okay. So this piece is something I wrote down and I composed. I would like to say composed because there is a lot of elements of dance that had gone into the story. So this is a small piece. I'll present a very short version of the story that I actually narrated elsewhere. So this piece is about Sugriva meeting Rama in Ramayana. So Sugriva is meeting Rama for the first time, and Rama offers help to Sugriva because he wants to fight his brother Vali to take over the kingdom Kishkinda. So now Sugriva is telling Rama about his enemy Vali. He is trying to tell Rama how strong his brother is and what he should keep in mind before he is going to fight Vali. So I'll present a very short piece from that for a sample of how I bring in music, dance, and movement in my story, and also Abhinaya.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
yeah. I doubt not, Rama, your peerless might. O armed king, you look keen and bright. I pray you lend me your ear for a while, for I'll tell you about the king who sent me to exile. The son of Indra, the king of Kishkinda, my brother Vali. Listen to his tale, O Rama, for then you will understand his true power. The Devas, or the celestial beings, and the Asuras, their demon cousins, were once churning the ocean of milk, holding the head and tail of Vasuki, the serpent. They were having this Mount Mandara, and it was coiled around, the snake was coiled around, and they were churning the ocean of milk. Why all this trouble? You may wonder. Everything for absolute power. The power over death, the nectar or the amrit that would give them immortality was just a few churns away. And that is when this happened. The mighty mountain Mandara stopped moving. The Devas began to worry. And that is when my brother Vali pitched in to help. With one turn of his hand, he had the mighty mountain Mandara moving again. So pleased were the Devas that they decided to bestow upon him a boon. May your strength increase in leaps and bounds. Half your enemy's strength you will get in the battlegrounds, said they. He rejoiced, he defeated and he conquered the world. Bali, the invincible, spread the word. The 10-headed Ravana heard it too, from Narada, the sage, and restless he grew. The more about the boon he thought, absolute power was what he sought. I should tell you something, O Rama. Ravana had sleepless nights thinking about the day that he would be meeting my brother Vali face to face. What will be Ravana's plight? Will he be hurled out of sight? Tatta dinka jonu takata dinka jonu tatta dinka jonu kardakadam. Tatta dinka jonu takata dinka jonu tatta dinka jonu kardakadam. Ravana could not help but think Vali tossing him up like a ball. He decided something. He took off his Pushpaka Vimana, bidding bye to the wandering sage. He landed in the gates of a palace and he rode with all his might, heart full of malice. Oh, my brother, he's gone to do his morning rituals. I should warn you, Ravana, said I. My brother, he flies from sea to sea even before the sun hits the skies. And to not get bored in his flight, he breaks mountain tops, hurls it aloft, catches it like a ball before even it could fall. Ta, ti, tam, nam, nam, tam, di, ta, takita. Ta 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 ti 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 tam 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 nam 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 ta ta ti ti tam tam nam nam ta ding ginna tum tam. I'm sure whatever I said definitely scared Ravana to death, because later I heard that this Lanka king happened to meet my brother and he very schemingly walked from behind, keeping the boon that the Creator had bestowed upon my brother in mind. But my brother Vali, he was as alert as a whisker on a cat, and he wound Ravana in his tail, and in meditation he sat. He held Ravana's head under his arms, and he jumping from one hill to another. Jum, taka jum, the jum, taddi tam, tam, the tarigada the gada, jum, taka jum, the jum, taddi tam, the tarigada the curling and swinging in trees, not paying attention to Ravana's pleas. That day, the women of Kishkinda laughed and clapped. Ravana's pride was reduced to half. Poor chap. Tata kita taka dikutari kita taka tam tari dikutari kita taka tam tari dikutari kita taka diti kita taka dikutari kita taka dim tari dikutari kita taka dim tari dikutari kita taka tam. Ravana that day was forced to retreat. The Lanka king went away, accepting defeat. Such is the strength of my brother, O Rama. That is what Sugriva told Rama about his brother Bali. So now this is the short portion from the long story that I had made. So I hope you all enjoyed. This is thank you. This is how I weave in music, Abhinaya, Bhratanatyam into my storytelling, something that I'm passionate about.
Wonderful, Lavanya. Words defy me because it's something I'm still immersing myself. Yet another story that I haven't heard about Bali and Sugriva. Sugriva introducing himself to Rama. Last week we
Right.
had the story of Kabandha from
Hmm.
China. So these nuggets and these beautiful stories are so rich and so colorful, and visually it paints a picture like one could see Bali curling
Absolutely.
his tail and swirling it, and Ravana. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for that glimpse
My
into
pleasure.
Abhinaya, Abhinaya Katha. And as you mentioned, this you performed for the recent Feast Festival,
Right. Right.
right? Yes. So fantastic, fabulous.
Thank you.
So, viewers, as you know, that Lavanya has much more. Storytelling is not just, of course, it is telling a story once upon a time and narrating a story, but to reinvent ourselves as storytellers, we use certain traditional art forms.
Right.
Sometimes maybe a skill that you've learned, music, movement, dance, movement, abhinaya, expression, takes the story forward and makes it more engaging and relatable because that is connection.
Right.
And we know that Lavanya is an expert in the connection of a
Thank
story.
you.
Lavanya, like I said, our time is limited, but moving forward, I would love to know your future projects. You've spoken about lullabies and
Right.
the sacred geometry, lullabies and lore, because lore is something also very dear to my heart. So, could you talk to us about your upcoming projects, especially about kolam? I know it's a sacred
Yes.
geometry. When I went to study at the School of Storytelling in Emerson College, you have a separate department which is only the sacred geometry, which has beautiful, and there is it's a complete course in itself to
Oh,
understand what the geometry stands for. And our columns are actually sacred geometry.
absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely.
they are with dots, mathematical calculations. I know that. It is something beautiful, maybe permutations and combinations. Can you talk
Right.
to us about this? This is fascinating.
Yes. So columns again. I grew up looking at them. I have witnessed the ritual that my mother, my periamma, and my aunts and my elders in the family, how they made it a very important and very strong ritual that has to happen in any South Indian household, no matter what, unless there is a death in the family or something, where we do not draw columns for 13 days. But otherwise, the column drawn at the front of the house was a very, very important ritual that happens every day, no matter what. So, like, the curious child that I was, I think I always wanted to know what is there in this art form. So, that is when I had to ask again. My grandfather was the one who introduced me to the story behind the column. Like, I can talk about that for hours and hours, but given the limited time that we have, it has got a very deeper significance. That is what I would like to share with you all today. Like, the basic thing that I was told when I was a child was, we are actually giving food to the animals, the plant, I mean the insects and the birds that come in search of food every morning. The rice flour that the column is put with is actually grains, small grain like consistency, where every day the ants, the birds, and the very small animals do come and peck on it and eat it. And it's like you're giving something to the nature. So that was the first thing that I learned about kolam. But like I told you all, when I started digging deeper into the lore of the land, that is when I realized how fascinating this is. This whole aspect of kolam is a meditation in itself. The way you keep the dots and you try connecting them is absolutely mind blowing. It's like, that 10-minute ritual that happens in any household is the start of the day meditation for a lady of the house to focus on what she needs to take forward to the day. And to this day, I'm also very ritually following whatever my mother has passed on to me. Every day I do a column in front of my house, and trust me, the amount of inner peace I get by looking at the dots and trying to connect it to the lines, sometimes straight, sometimes curved. And there is so much into drawing straight lines and curved lines too. So the curved lines especially, I would like to tell you all, because we call it the nelly column, or the kambi column. So the psychology or behind that Nelly column is, it's kind of a sickle, or what do you call it, tangled feel is what you get it. So it was believed, that's what my mother told me, it was believed that a girl who is able to master the art of doing a Nelly column will be able to gain the patience in her life to actually untangle the problems that she's facing in her lives. Well, to me, it was like how you're preparing your mind to face adversities in your life. I think these kind of minute things which carry deeper significance is what attracted me to column in the first place. And yes, we also have a very divine connection to the column. The dots are, my mother tells me that the dots represent Shiva, and the lines represent Parvati. And it's like the Ardhanarishwara, where the lines and the dots cannot uh, exist without each other. So I really liked that beautiful philosophy of trying to bring one's mind together to focus through this simple, humble, grounded art, literally grounded art called kolam. So that is the smallest thing that I could give you all. I hope this urges you all to go and read more and find more about this kolam art.
Thank you, Lavanya. I'm going to do
Thank
exactly
you.
that. In my house, my sisters, especially my elder sister, is very good at it, and my aunts. I mean, it's an art. So there is a wedding or a
Absolutely.
function in the family. You know whom to call to
Mm.
do the kolam, and
Right.
it's a beautiful, and the ladies get together. There is laughter, there is a camaraderie, there is a kinship, and I
Yes,
guess stories are shared, and it's a
absolutely.
beautiful uh, place to be in. You create a space
Right,
where
you're taking me back to my childhood days. Oh my God, I'm just remembering the days where we all used to sit together, especially Perima's parties and all coming together. Thank you for telling that. Yeah,
Yeah,
true,
I
very
remember at my engagement in a very in a hall in Shivaji Park where the engagement took place. Perima had just come flown in from the US, but
true.
she loved because she was the best in the kolam, and it was a huge thing. And everyone in my family, because the engagement is done by the boys' side, so
Right,
everybody was there was a competition who would outdo. And today,
yeah.
at my daughter's wedding, which took place in 2016, I kind of outsourced the kolam because there are a lot of women who are part and parcel of this whole the wedding plethora
Right,
of vendors who came and did the kolam. But
right,
there was something missing because it was the family coming together. Uh, and
absolutely.
it's a wonderful thing, and the lore and the stories attached to it,
Right,
really wonderful, wonderful. There's so many possibilities in that. Lavanya,
absolutely.
before we bid you goodbye, I would like to know about the Lalis with Lavanya, which is your future project where you bring in
Yes,
lore stories from the past, I
right.
guess interspersed with music, maybe movement and dance, and or you say where lore meets love and hope. Can you just give us a
Absolutely.
small uh, a little bird's eye view of this project before
Right.
we sign off?
So I'll tell you where this came to me. Okay. So when I started off as a storyteller, Usha, and it was not much known, like 10 years back, when I went to somebody and said that I'm a professional storyteller. It just I mean, eyebrows were raised, and some even made fun of me. You're taking this as your profession, so you put people to sleep. And that hurt me somewhere deep, like, why should they say that, stories put people to sleep? There should be something in it. So I went to find out why, because I didn't know the answer then, and I had to just smile, awkwardly, and say yes and come off. But then I really wanted to find that why people are put to sleep when they are listening to stories. And that is when I found that
Okay.
when somebody listens to a story, bedtime stories, which is very popular in the West, even we do have stories happening all the time. When a child listens to a story, um, it feels very safe. The atmosphere of, there is a trust space and a safe space that is created, and that actually gives the child so much of confidence to actually close its eyes and go to sleep you know so the moment I found that, I was like jumping up in the air, and I went to the person and I said, why storytellers can put people to sleep? Because they can create this safe and trust space in anybody. And that is when I also thought about lullabies. Thalatu, that is what we call it in Tamil, is something that, gives that same amount of trust and, the safe feeling to a child. குயிலிசை குழலோசை உன் கொஞ்சும் மொழி கிணையாமோ கொண்ட மன சஞ்சலங்கள் பஞ்சாய் பரந்திடுமே தாலோ தாலேலோ 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 கண்ணே என் கண்மணியே. Appa used to sing this to me every night before going to bed, and I still remember that safe feeling that I used to get, and I just would drift away to sleep. So I wanted to understand how these two can come together, and that is when I found something very interesting about lullabies. Lullabies were actually created by women to tell the child, who could not understand a word of what the lullaby is, about what she feels about the child, to give the child the hope of a better future. If you actually dwell deep into the lullabies, you would see people talking about the difficulties that they have had in their lives, and telling the child that I hope that, when you grow up to be a bigger girl or a boy, you don't find this in your world. So lullabies were actually a place where the suppressed feelings of the woman actually came out. At the same time, it was also giving hope to the child about the future. And like I told you, the child does not understand a word of what the lullaby is, but everything gets deeply etched in the subconscious. That's exactly why lullabies were even sung in the first place. So I found, when I was reading up, I found about this beautiful thing where they found lullabies that were sung by women who were during the Holocaust times. It was so deep. The woman talking to the child about what has happened and hoping, giving the child hope. So to me, lullaby is all about safe, trust, hope, and a place to actually let out your suppressed feelings. And how powerful is that, Usha? Right? So
Absolutely.
when I was talking about, so this is what probed me into understanding more the lore of the land, the column, the lullaby. So that is a thing that that is a project that I'm bringing out in a very few days. So I call it the dawn to dusk. So right from the morning, time when we rise in the morning to the time when we go to bed, how the lore of the land is connected very deeply with our subconscious, and how it actually helps us to understand ourselves and our roots better. So that is the next project that Talescope is coming up with, the dawn to dusk, where lore meets love and hope. Thank you for asking
Lovely,
this.
lovely, Lavanya. What a beautiful. I was just going to say that storytelling has a soporific effect. It kind of
Absolutely.
induces drowsiness. Now, this is not drowsiness which stems from boredom. This is
Mm,
the healing power of stories which calms you. So when you sing a
absolutely.
lullaby, you're calming the nerves and you're putting a child. Usually you sing that, and these are also working songs in a way. In the sense, these are more folk. There is a folk tinge attached to these songs. Like you said,
Right.
it's talking about when you want to convey something.
Right.
Uh, you would, or a mother would tell the child about her day's toil, all that.
Exactly.
And then she would, and that was also for the mother a liberating feeling of
Absolutely.
relaxing, deep relaxation. So it's a mutual benefit, actually.
Right.
Beautiful, Lamanya, for bringing these. These are in our tradition, our culture, our storytelling, our rich pool. But, bringing it out in the present times and making it relevant to today's audience, that is a skill. And that is something, as you all seen, my friends, Lavanya Prasad is definitely a maestro in that. You're listening to Lavanya Prasad from Bangalore, India, a wonderful, wonderful, versatile storyteller, and it's been an honor and a great, I would say, privilege to host you on Storytellers Cafe. Like I said, friends, I learned so much from the visiting guests who grace my studios. It actually feeds my own creativity in many ways, because maybe some of them were long forgotten, because I've been in this field for over 25 years and never knew that I had to give some kind of name to something, or coinage, a concept, because you just told stories. But I'm learning that today, to connect with the audience, you probably need to make it relevant to today's, I wouldn't say millennials, I would say today's Gen Z, with a little more than the millennials, more recent. So I think you're doing a wonderful job, and we wish you all the best, Lavanya. I
Thank
request
you.
I request my listeners to drop in your comments. Please, you can connect with Lavanya. All her social handles will be there. Please do write to her. And I think she's a wonderful, wonderful resource person as well as a fabulous performance storyteller. So you're really gifted when you have dance, music, and also the art of crafting and telling stories. So the combination is phenomenal. I would say very powerful, and the impact is long lasting. Lavanya, I've really enjoyed myself on this show. Thank you so much. Do you have any last words for our viewers?
Thank you, Usha. I should. I'm very glad that you wanted to ask about all these things, and yes, this is something that I'm trying to bring it to the to this Gen Z, like you call it, and what a wonderful experience of talking with you, and how comfortable you made me feel. Thank you so much for that. You're a wonderful host. I loved being in Storytellers Cafe. I hope you all enjoyed too. So again, a storyteller is nobody without an audience. I think you all were such wonderful audience today. Nandri, thank you so much. Thank you, Bharat Film, for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, Lavanya. And one more, because I can't resist, Lavanya is also just recently, freshly graduated from the 1 year, I think, is it a diploma course in comparative
Yes,
mythology from Mumbai
yes, it is.
University? I too had joined it way back in 2010. 2011 actually,
Hmm.
and I couldn't continue, and that's when I lost my father. There were a lot of upheavals in my life, and I didn't continue. And I'm so happy that you completed and you graduated, and that is another rich source of tradition, not only from India but from around the
Right,
world,
right.
discovering creation myths, other myths from ancient
Absolutely.
civilization. Yeah, beautiful. So that's Lavanya Prasad for you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank
Please
you.
give her a hand, and I thank you, Lavanya. I will meet you not next week, I'll meet you in the month of September with the wonderful storytellers. We travel to Wales and then on to New Zealand. So
Oh,
stay tuned, friends, to listen to Storytellers Cafe. Oh, I might do a program for the 14th of August. I forgot about the Independence Day because there is so much. There are so many wonderful storytellers, and I myself love telling stories. So I'm kind of inching the first 5 minutes to get a little window into my storytelling. And this episode of 14th August, I hope it takes shape, and I can bring it to all the listeners and viewers of Storytellers Cafe. Thank you so much, and wishing you all a very happy Varalakshmi Nombu Puja. May the
thank
goddess
you.
bring you all prosperity. And Lavanya, wishing you all the best blessings from me, because you're doing a
Thank you, Usha.
wonderful job. Wonderful job. Keep at it. And we are so happy and proud of your achievements and your, striding forward in this field of storytelling. Thank
Means
you.
a lot. Thank you so much.
Yes. No, you need appreciation and validation. Very, very important. So, viewers, don't forget to appreciate and give your comments. And while I switch off by playing the Bharat FM jingle, see you next week.
This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.